The city of Kitakyushu, located on the northern tip of the island of Kyushu, is a veritable treasure trove of new discoveries, even for its residents. Join us as we take a journey through the history which has left its mark on the many and varied faces of this fascinating town. Kitakyushu was formed from the amalgamation of 5 cities, each with its own captivating backstory. As Japan entered the modern age, these cities began to enjoy increasingly close relations, and each thrived by making the most of the particular advantages they had in terms of environmental and geopolitical potential. The buildings, which can still be seen today, are living witnesses and invaluable assets which silently tell us the story of the cultural and historical changes which made the city what it is today. Beneath its familiar exterior lie so many unexpectedly compelling stories which explain how Kitakyushu came to be. Join me as I unravel the past and explore the tales of each area. For many hundreds of years, Moji has functioned as the geopolitical center of northern Kyushu. Connecting Honshu with Kyushu, Moji enjoyed a pivotal role as a key outpost for both land traffic and marine transportation. Following the arrival of the modern age, however, Moji faced a major turning point in its history in 1889. It was in this year that Moji Port was designated a special national port for the export of coal mined in the Chikuho region. In 1891, the Kyushu Railway was opened, linking Moji Port with inland areas, making it a key transportation node joining land with sea. In later years, Moji Port flourished as a point of connection with foreign trade routes and grew to become a fully fledged international trading port. People and goods were drawn to Moji from across Japan and the world, and it thrived as a major cultural center. Moji Port's superior access to both land and sea routes meant that major trading companies, shipping companies, banks, and newspapers all flocked to set up offices in the town, which bustled with activity. Even today, walking through the area, with its classic turn-of-the-century buildings lining the streets, makes it easy to imagine what it would have been like all those years ago. In the early years of the Showa era, shipping routes to Dalian and Tianjin entered operation, based out of the West Coast Pier. In addition to these Chinese routes, Nippon Yusen and Osaka Shosen ran shipping lines from the port to locations in Europe. This was the most prosperous era of Moji Port's history. At its peak, it operated 40 different shipping routes with 180 ships docking every month. At the same time, the diversification of the goods being imported and exported led to Moji taking on an expanded role as a commercial port. With the opening of the Kanmon Tunnel and the transition of Japan's major energy source from coal to oil, however, Moji Port suffered a rapid decline. The transfer away from the port of the major municipal functions of the city meant that the high-quality buildings of its heyday still remain even now. It was in 1995 that Mojiko Retro was opened as a tourism experience centered upon these early modern-era buildings, telling the tale of Moji's history. One of the first projects to be implemented as part of the Kitakyushu Renaissance Plan, it was created as a new tourist destination for the Heisei era through the cooperation of citizens and local body government under the direct leadership of the city's mayor. This is a map of the city from 1933. At that time, what is currently the Mojiko Retro area was surrounded by a canal, and the landing pier for ships traveling on the route to Dalian was far removed from the shoreline. It is also clear that even from its early days, Moji Port was set on an inlet in the shape of a broad arc. Next, let's go to Wakamatsu, a city which enjoyed strong ties to Moji Port due to its thriving coal industry. From as early as the Edo era, Wakamatsu was an important port for the loading of coal as well as rice to be paid as taxation from the area around the Onga River. The coal mined in the area was loaded onto flat river boats called kawa hirata and carried down the Onga River and the Horikawa Canal until it reached the port of Wakamatsu. The inlet here, known as Dokai Bay, had long been a vital part of the marine transportation system. But I wonder how many viewers are aware just how much the face of Dokai Bay changed over the course of the history of Wakamatsu and Kitakyushu. In addition to the local coal mine operations run by such illustrious names as Aso, Kaijima, and Yasukawa Matsumoto, vast conglomerates including Mitsui, Mitsubishi, Sumitomo, and Furukawa also entered Kitakyushu's coal market in the mid-Meiji period, leading to the rapid development of the Chikuho coalfields and a dramatic increase in output. Eventually, the area would come to produce almost half of Japan's energy. This accelerated growth led to an urgent need for improvements to the transportation network. At the time, Wakamatsu Port was extremely shallow, set in just 2 meters of water, meaning that at low tides the rocks were exposed and the harbor floor itself was practically visible. The port's fortunes were changed by the establishment in 1890 of the Wakamatsu Port Company, which put in place plans to deepen the harbor basin and expand the shipping routes the port could handle. As the large-scale dredging required by this operation would need vast monetary resources, the Wakamatsu Port Company set about increasing its revenue through collecting fees from ships using Dokai Bay and through the selling of reclaimed land to private enterprises. At the same time, the other fervent desire of the coal mining entrepreneurs was brought to fruition through the establishment of the Chikuho Industrial Railway between Wakamatsu and Nogata in 1891, and its subsequent expansion as far as Izuka in 1893. Steam locomotives could now carry vast quantities of coal from the mines directly to the harbor. In 1897, Yahata was chosen as the construction site of the new Imperial Steel Works, as dredging of Dokai Bay was one of the conditions of the site selection for the steelworks. The expansion of the port facilities was accelerated in accordance with these political maneuverings. As this complete overhaul of the harbor facilities was ongoing, Wakamatsu Port was designated as a special national port in 1904, leading to a gradual increase in coal exports as well. Following the construction of the Imperial Steel Works, Dokai Bay took on a new role as an industrial port, and large-scale dredging and land reclamation projects were repeated over many years. It was in this way that Dokai Bay was eventually reborn as a major transport thoroughfare capable of handling multiple large freighters at the same time. In this age driven by the glories of the coal economy, the south coast of Wakamatsu was populated by the offices of coal companies, shipping companies, trading companies, banks, railways, and other pillars of industry. For employees, a transfer to Wakamatsu was a very definite step up on the corporate ladder. 4 of these early modern-era buildings still stand today, all in a row along Wakamatsu's Minami Kaigan Dori thoroughfare. Built using the Gyofu pseudo-Western style of architecture, they offer a glimpse of the buoyant nature of the Wakamatsu economy of the age, when coal was even referred to as black diamonds. The traditional Japanese ryotei restaurant, Kinnabe, opened in 1895. At a time when the opulence brought by coal led to a burgeoning economy and the blossoming of a rich urban culture in Wakamatsu, Kinnabe came to be known as a fashionable meeting place where industrial and artistic figures would gather.
この金鍋の歴史としては125年経ちましたけど、この建物自体はいつ頃のものなんですか？
建物がですね、創業当時の建物は大火で全焼して 再建されたのがこの建物です。100年以上は優に経っております。創建当時、明治末から大正時代にかけてですね、和と洋がミックスした建物というのが流行だったんですよ。この建物はアールデコという様式を随所に取り込んでおるということで、ですからガラスとかですね、そういったのよく見ればなんか奇妙なですね、洋風のデザインになってるなと思ってですね。
こう丸みのある、創業当時はかなりハイカラで贅を尽くした憧れの建物という、
一番斬新なですね。
うわー、味噌ですね。
はい、名古屋の八丁味噌になります。
この中にお肉を入れて、
当時は冷蔵庫っていうものがなかったので、お肉などをお味噌につけて保存していたそうで、それが始まりになります。
なるほど。このふつふつと煮える音がたまらないですね。
はい。
これが牛鍋の音なんだな。柔らかい。幸せすぎます。
ありがとうございます。
九州初の牛鍋。時代が変わってもこうやって味わえて、でまたこの若松の歴史を思い浮かべながらいただくと、より一層味わい深いですね。美味しいです。
Behind the transformation of Dokai Bay lies not only the history of Wakamatsu, but also the development of the region in an attempt to win the competition, which eventually led to the construction of the Yahata Imperial Steel Works. And with that in mind, let's go to Yahata itself, one of the very origins of modern Japanese industry. Under the stated policy of steel is the state, the Meiji government made the decision to construct a new Imperial Steel Works just before the conclusion of the Sino-Japanese War in 1895. 2 years later, the impoverished village of Yahata, located on Dokai Bay, was chosen as the site for this ambitious new project. In 1901, the Yahata Imperial Steel Works entered operation. By 1910, it was already producing over 90% of all Japanese steel, forming the foundation of the technological giant that is Japan today. The Japan-British exhibition held in London that year featured a display of products manufactured using steel from the Yahata Imperial Steel Works. By this time, Japan's industrial might was surprising the world. Through his work in masterminding the dredging of Dokai Bay, Keiichiro Yasukawa was a key individual responsible for successfully petitioning the government to construct the Imperial Steel Works in Yahata. Together with Mayor Taneyoshi Haga, his tireless and passionate pleas for a steelworks which would benefit Yahata in ways that were unimaginable would ultimately be rewarded. The birth of the Yahata Imperial Steel Works was a major turning point in the modernization of Kitakyushu and in the formation of the architecture of the area. The twin turbines of coal and steel drove Kitakyushu into the future, breathing new life into it as a modern industrial city. Ultimately, almost the entirety of the coastline from Moji to Kurosaki, all the way along the Kanmon Strait and Dokai Bay, would be lined with factories, turning Kitakyushu into one of Japan's 4 major industrial regions in the period before and after World War II. In 2015, 4 facilities related to the Yahata Imperial Steel Works, the first head office, the repair shop, the former forge shop, and the Onga River pumping station were designated as UNESCO World Heritage Sites. The grand Otani Kaikan complex, still used today, was originally constructed as a leisure facility for the factory hands working at the steelworks. Indeed, the Yahata Imperial Steel Works were also at the forefront of Japan's workers' rights movement. Following the protests and workers' strikes of 1920, labor regulations governing the works were overhauled, with operations being run in 3 shifts of 8 hours instead of 2 shifts of 12 hours. The Otani Kaikan and the Otani Baseball Stadium were new facilities built as a way for the workers to use their newfound time for recreation. The Kigyosai Festival, which later came to be celebrated by all the citizens of the town, originally began its existence as a way of fostering understanding about the role of the steelworks among the families of its employees. Through anecdotes like this, we can appreciate how Yahata developed very much as a town built around the steelworks at its heart. The city suffered terrible damage as a result of incendiary bombs dropped in raids during World War II. Countless lives were lost, and the city itself was burned almost to the ground. Following the war, a restoration project was drafted featuring a clear concept centered upon a key landscape axis based upon which work quickly began in earnest. This axis joined the newly relocated Yahata station with Mount Sarakura, and featured buildings on this line, including Japan's first urban community center as well as the former Yahata Citizens Hall. The former Yahata Citizens Hall was designed by Togo Murano, one of Japan's modern architectural masters. Having grown up in Yahata, Murano even worked at the Yahata Steelworks during the war. Rejecting the pseudo-Western style widely used in Kitakyushu prior to the war, he developed his own unique interpretation of the modern international architectural style. In the Higashida area, formerly home to the Yahata Imperial Steel Works, redevelopment plans have been put in place to make use of idle land, with the establishment of cultural and commercial facilities as well as a new hub for the IT industry. There are also a number of measures being carried out as part of Kitakyushu City's development plans as an environmental capital. Centered upon the Higashida area, Yahata is currently undergoing a dramatic renaissance. It is very exciting to imagine what the future may hold. The next stop on our journey is Tobata. Before the arrival of the modern age, Tobata was a sleepy fishing village. After Japan entered the Meiji era, as the coal industry in Wakamatsu began to thrive and Yahata Imperial Steel Works commenced operations, Tobata also began to entice related corporations there, making the necessary infrastructural preparations for their arrival. Tobata was to be more than just a venue for new businesses, though. Driven by the philosophy that profits earned as a result of benefaction from the state should be used for the benefit of its people, Keiichiro Yasukawa planned to create an educational utopia here in Tobata. Under the educational ethos of the training of skilled technical experts, Meiji Vocational School, precursor to the modern-day Kyushu Institute of Technology, was opened in 1909. The finest minds in the field were placed in charge of the school's early operation. Kenjiro Yamakawa, renowned physicist and former president of Tokyo Imperial University, was appointed as the school's first president and entrusted with its establishment and management in its early years. The school itself was designed by Kingo Tatsuno, revered as the father of early modern Japanese architecture. The leafy green area connecting KIT's Tobata campus with Yomiya Park is known as Meisen no Mori, Meiji Vocational School Forest. Not only blessed with lush greenery, the Meisen no Mori area also features several extant examples of early modern and modern works of architecture representative of the Kitakyushu region. The whole space functions as an extremely valuable natural and cultural resource.
いや、鳥のさえずりがもう本当に完全なる森ですね。はあ、この名泉の森はもともとどういった環境にあったんですか。
こちらはですね、おそらくですが今の JR より海側にはですね、白い砂浜が中原から名古屋岬まであってですね、大正時代は海水浴場だったって聞いています。
いや、こうやって見てるとですね、建物が 当に全てかっこよくて、
そうですね、この後もね。
もう正直大学の敷地内っていうよりはその美術館のある公園に遊びに来たような感覚になってます。
そうですね。我々自身もですね感じてますのはやはりこのマスタープラン、この最初の全体計画が自然と建物のバランスをそのままこの名泉の森の良さを生かしながら作られています。それがまず素晴らしいと思います。この放流会館とかですね、
はい、
その奥にあります記念講堂、これは清家清さんが作られたんですけども、これはオリジナルとは違う新しいモダンな現代建築なんですけども、
はい、
そのやはりこの環境の良さを清家清さんがよく考えて作ってくださったんで、ある意味1960年代の北九州のお手本になったんだと思っています。でそれがこうキャンパス内にですねこうだんだん浸透して維持されているので、こういう美術館みたいな雰囲気がですねこちらの名泉の森にはあるというふうに考えていただけるといいかなと思います。
ではこの名泉の森はこの自然とともに近現代建築も守ってきたということなんですね。
そうですね。近代の起業家さんたちが、理想の自然環境、理想の近代建築を、ここに作り、それをみんなが守ってきた。でそれはある意味ユートピアだったんですけど、今では逆にこうオアシスみたいな貴重な財産だと思います。だからぜひ皆さん市民の方にも知っていただきたいと思っています。
In addition to its educational achievements, Tobata was also once home to a very different type of utopia. It was in 1929 that Kyodo Gyogyo, forerunner of the present-day marine product company Nippon Suisan, transferred its fishing base from Shimonoseki to Tobata. Over the course of time, Tobata would grow to become a major trolling port. The building, which still stands to this day, offers a glimpse of its former existence as the base of operations for the fishing industry operating out of Dokai Bay. On the roof of the former Kyodo Gyogyo building here stands the antenna once used for fishery radio communications. This antenna would relay messages from trawlers working the 7 seas of the globe. This is yet another facet of Tobata's fascinating history. And now, from Tobata, home to utopian creations in the fields of education and fisheries, we now turn our attention to Kurosaki. Kurosaki first came to prominence as a post-station town on the Nagasaki-Kaido Highway. After the transition to the modern era, several major industrial firms, including Yasukawa Electric and Kurosaki Yogyo, established bases in the area. With the subsequent development of the area's commercial functionality, it is anticipated that it will grow still further to function as a secondary city center. Perhaps the finest example of the magnificent architecture of post-war Kurosaki can be found in the former head office of Yasukawa Electric. The building was designed by Antonin Raymond, a disciple of Frank Lloyd Wright, who first came to Japan during the construction of the Imperial Hotel in Tokyo. The first genuine representation of the modern architecture movement in Kitakyushu, the building's auditorium still remains today, converted to a historical museum. The Nagasaki Kaido, developed for general use in the Edo period, joined Kokura in Buzen province with Nagasaki in the province of Hizen. The final stop on our journey today is Kokura, home to Tokiwabashi, the official starting point of the Nagasaki Kaido. In the Edo era, Kokura was a beautiful castle town built to take advantage of its rich water resources. It flourished as the entrance to Kyushu with no fewer than 5 major roads originating from the heart of its town around Tokiwabashi. It was this geopolitical potential as a key traffic hub that would change Kokura's fate dramatically after the Meiji Restoration. Kokura's history as a military town began with the establishment of the Saikaido garrison there in 1871. It was in 1898, though, following the placing of the headquarters of the 12th Infantry Division of the Imperial Japanese Army in the grounds of Kokura Castle, that the previously quiet town of Kokura was truly transformed into a bustling military installation. Later, Kokura was chosen as the new location of the Imperial Army's Tokyo Arsenal after it suffered significant damage in the Great Kanto earthquake, The subsequent establishment of the Kokura Arsenal on this site served as the true tipping point in Kokura's transition from castle town to military city. Following the war, vast swaths of military land were released for public usage, including the very area where I'm walking now. The question of how to make best use of this prime downtown land held the key to the future of Kokura's story as a modern city. The current main keep of Kokura Castle was rebuilt in 1959 in response to the fervent wishes of the town's citizens. A symbol of the history and culture of Kokura, the keep's restoration provided a touchstone for the subsequent development of public facilities along the Murasaki River waterfront and Katsuyama Park. Along with the restoration of the keep of Kokura Castle, the other major event which led to the start of a public works plan which would determine the new phase of Kokura and of Kitakyushu as a whole was the construction of Kokura Civic Center. Kokura Civic Center opened in 1959 on land previously used for military purposes. Its design was the work of none other than Togo Murano. In 1975, the Kitakyushu City Central Library, designed by Arata Isozaki, opened its doors in the corner of Katsuyama Park. Its ingenious L-shaped design gives it two separate views, respectively encompassing the key landmarks of Kokura Castle and Murasaki River. Arata Isozaki would go on to design other significant buildings in the area, including the Kitakyushu Municipal Museum of Art, the West Japan General Exhibition Center, and the Kitakyushu International Conference Center. It was in this way that the castle town of Kokura, built upon Murasaki River, was restored in its incarnation as a modern city centered on the river's clear flowing water, complete with state-of-the-art urban amenities. This philosophy proved fundamental in the Murasaki River, My Town, My River development project, part of the Kitakyushu Renaissance Plan. Along with flood prevention works for Murasaki River, this project has led to the creation of an attractive townscape designed with the river as its central defining feature. Riverwalk Kitakyushu is a multi-purpose complex opened in 2003 as part of the redevelopment of the Muramachi Ichome area carried out in conjunction with the Murasaki River, My Town, My River development project. Designed by John Jurdy, the complex makes skillful use of the space and magnificent views provided by the riverfront area to create a seamlessly integrated urban center for commerce, culture, art, and information dissemination. The city of Kokura has changed its outward appearance many times throughout the course of its history. Beginning life as a tranquil castle town on the waterfront, it became a key military outpost before metamorphosing into a city of industry, supporting the area's rapid economic growth after the end of the war. Moving forward, Kokura aims to become a still more attractive place to live, underpinned by the key concept of sustainability. Despite being a citizen of Kitakyushu myself, there are so many sides to the city that I had never seen before. This journey has made me fall in love with Kitakyushu all over again and reaffirmed my desire to continue to live here in this multifaceted metropolis. Not only does it boast a rich cultural history and beautiful natural reserves, but as a key center in Japan's modern industrialization, Kitakyushu City has developed its very own unique regional heritage. The early modern era buildings which dot the landscape throughout each area of the city are testament to this. Each of these holds its own unique story, the telling of which will surely serve to bring to light still more new aspects of Kitakyushu and allow us all to discover further elements of the rich cultural and historical background to this fascinating city.